Hello, good morning, and happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to the new episode of Breakfast with Boom. I'm your temporary host, You Can't Beat Cake. And on today's new episode, we are discussing how Xbox Game Pass is not only great for consumers, it's doing big things for developers as well. Thanks so much for tuning in. And now I turn the show over to Mr. BoomStick XL.
Good morning. Happy Friday, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Breakfast at Boom. Of course, that is my awesome nephew, Tyler, who's learning how to podcast. And of course, he's going to be interning with me for the summer. And I'm going to be teaching him thumbnail design. I'm going to be teaching him how to cut his own music, as well as actually make videos. I'm very enthused. And I keep telling him all the time, I love you, boy, but aim higher, kid. Aim higher, which of course he's going to do. He is talented AF. But listen, folks, we had written a different show, and we're going to kind of do a call an audible because we have some breaking news to open up today's show. But before we get into the breaking news, which is extremely relevant and something that a lot of Nintendo fans have been waiting for, let's introduce this awesome panel. Korkenstein, my brother from another. How you feeling?
Yeah, man, doing good. Some really great, I wouldn't say great breaking news, but great for us to talk about because, it's, we'll get into it, but I hope everyone's having a great Friday.
Yeah, indeed. It's going to be fun. We're going to be here 90 minutes, folks. And we have two monstrosity type level topics to get into. One, of course, is Nintendo. The second one is going to be one of those conversations that as a podcaster, because I'm working with all hosts in their own rights, right? They all have their own shows. They're all on multiple shows, and they're hosts in their own ways. And of course, it's going to be an open-ended conversation to the Variety interview with Phil Spencer that took place on April 15th. And again, when I say open-ended, the panel is going to just take on whatever they found interesting. The one that I'm going to be taking on that is both annoying, frustrating, and needs to be discussed openly is how, once again, Phil Spencer's words were twisted against him, where, he went out and specifically said that Game Pass isn't for everyone, right? And that was, of course, turned by multiple people. Look, the community is going to always be who we thought that they were. Right? Famous Dennis Green line if you're a football fan, right? They are who we thought that they were, right? You remember that, right? Well, I do. But the thing is this, when the media starts acting a fool, and we don't do the names thing here, folks, because I understand the business, but I would have written articles a different way to get those clicks. And and again, we don't do the names thing here. I read a lot of articles that had these blaring headlines. Phil Spencer says you don't need Xbox Game Pass. And I think that is such horse shit. I'm sorry. I don't like the curse, but that's what ultimately it is. How I would have wrote or written an article if I was a journalist would have been exactly this. Phil Spencer's words taken out of context again. And guess what? Everyone would have clicked on it, right? You'd be like, whoa, what did Phil say? That's how I would have done it. But it's fine. I understand the business. I just think it's a really shitty way of doing it. That's just my opinion. But Silent Cypher, welcome back, sir. It's been a couple of weeks. Great to have you back. We have a lot to get into. How you feeling?
Good morning. Great to be with you guys again this Friday morning. It's always fun when we get some surprising news at the last second. I would imagine that some of us on this panel are probably going to have a different take on what this means for Nintendo or for fans. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into it, and yeah, let's go.
Absolutely. Shout out to Music72. Says, don't worry, Boom. They're not journalists either. Well said, sir. Well said, kind sir. Good morning. So, Fuzzy Belvedere, welcome back, brother. We have a lot to get into. We got a cold and audible at the last minute. The big Nintendo news is rather big and quite expensive. We're going to get into that. How you feeling, brother? Good morning.
Oh, feeling great. Glad to be here. Awesome intro with Tyler and everything. Yeah, this is going to be a good show. But when it comes to Nintendo and the pricing, well, I guess it goes to show that they didn't account for tariffs in the pricing, and
yeah,
they're go with that original shipment. We could see some changes later on, but yeah, we're going to have a decent conversation on this one. So can't wait to get into it.
Well, listen, let's rip this Band-Aid right off, ladies and gentlemen, and read the presser from Nintendo. And this, again, we have to give credit where credit is due. I did an appreciation post earlier this week, shouting out many people in the community that drop news bombs on a regular basis. I'd like to do that publicly because, again, a lot of the news that I do get are from articles that I read, and I read 5 to 10 articles per day. It's a lot of reading that I do, but I also get a lot of the information through DMs from this amazing community. But there are people like, for instance, Wario64, who broke this story, Okami13, Hazador Gaming, Shinobi 602, Ecstasies. Who am I forgetting? I always forget somebody, and apologies if I do. But there are a lot of people that put this news out there for the community. Now, some people do it for financial reasons, and there's nothing wrong with that. You're out there, they're hustling, they're working, they deserve to be paid for it. And if they are someone that you follow, and I subscribe to a lot of people on Twitter because they consistently drop in stuff that I use for the shows that we do 5 days a week. And when you produce 5 shows, well, you need something to talk about. So let's just give a big shout out to Wario64, who actually is the one that broke this originally. And I'm going to read it verbatim, folks. And it's exciting, but both disappointing at the same time. And I'm going to go first, of course, here to Corkenstein. So, Cork, here's what it had to say. It says Nintendo maintains Nintendo Switch 2 pricing. Retail pre-orders begin, folks, on April 24th in the United States. That is Thursday. That is next week. So be prepared to reach out to the people like Wario64. I'm sure that Hazador Gaming will be tweeting about it, as well as Okami13. There are quite a few other people you should keep your eye out because they will add links so you can jump in and hopefully, like I said, I need 2, and at $499.99 for the Mario Kart World Edition, I'm going to buy that for me and for Tyler. But this is what the remaining information comes the way of the presser, and it says this, folks, and this is where it gets a little bit disappointing. Retail pre-orders for Nintendo Switch 2 begin on April 24th, 2025. At launch, the price for the Nintendo Switch 2 in the United States will remain as announced on April 2nd at $449.99 for the Nintendo Switch 2. Plus Mario Kart World Bundle will be $499.99. That was also announced on April 2nd. Pricing for both physical and digital versions of Mario Kart World remain at $79.99, and Donkey Kong Bonanza, which is a launch title as well, has not changed in price. It is $69.99 for both the digital and the physical editions. However, Nintendo Switch 2 accessories will experience price adjustments from those announced on April 2nd due to the change in market conditions. Other adjustments to the price of any Nintendo product are also possible in the future depending on market conditions. So, look, I'm going to just interject before I hand the mic over. I'm going to tell you that line right there, ladies and gentlemen, is dangerous. It's as dangerous as scalable pricing. And what that says to me is that Nintendo got spooked when basically the Nintendo fans who normally just sit there and take it, and I'm one of them, right, actually pushed back against the potential of raising the price of the console. So that says to me that if the market conditions are where they need to be for Nintendo to be Nintendo, you could see a price increase on the Nintendo Switch 2. That's what it says to me. Could I be wrong? Sure, but that's how I read it. It goes on to say, we apologize for the retail pre-order delay and hope this reduces some of the uncertainty our customers may be currently experiencing. We thank our customers for their patience and we share their excitement to experience Nintendo Switch 2 starting on June 5th, 2025. Now, folks, this is where the pricing gets a little bonkers. So the Switch 2 Pro controller was originally announced for $79.99. $80 seems to be the standard fare. Like even like if you bought like the Doom controller, they're starting to get up there with the pricing on these controllers. Well, it went up $5. It's now $84.99. Where this gets sickening, and again, if you have kids, this is going to be a bit of a gut punch to your wallet. The Nintendo Switch 2 Joy-Con pair is $95 now. $94.99. And I think it went up 10. I think it was 84 if I'm not, or 79 before. I don't remember, but almost 100. It's going to be $100 after tax for a pair of Joy-Cons. Okay, the charging grip, which is, I mean, it's just a piece of plastic with the ability to charge the things, is $40. The Joy-Con strap, jokes, pause, hold on a sec, is $14. I don't know why you need that thing anyway, but that thing costs a nickel to make. Let's go. Come on, Nintendo. That's a nickel or a dime to make that thing. The Joy-Con wheel set, which comes with two hollow plastic things that you put the Joy-Cons into, is now $25. The Nintendo Switch 2 camera went up $5. It is now $54.99. The Nintendo Switch 2 dock set is now at $120. And there's some other silly ones in here, like, I don't know, the Nintendo Switch 2 all-in-one carrying case. Folks, it doesn't do anything for you. It is a carrying case. It is $85 for a carrying case that you could probably go to Amazon and pick out something that looks like it and probably get it for $20. I look, Korkenstein, I've hogged up the mic enough. I want to get the panel. I want to get the chat in here. Look, I'm a Nintendo guy. I don't make apologies for it. I love Nintendo. It means something to me personally because, like I've always said, my parents have always figured a way, being less than blue collar. You know, we had a one salary household. Mom stayed home with the boys. Dad worked. And my dad was a blue collar construction worker. He was a taper, a sheetrocker, and he's always chasing work. And when the work was there, anyone that knows this story, was plentiful. When the work wasn't there, that was it. You weren't getting paid, especially because my pops had his own business, right? So when we would get expensive items like an Atari 2678, we were baffled. I was like, in my mind, I'm like, did my dad steal this? Like, of course he didn't, but you know, he wanted to bring home nice things for us, and he always did. Well, when I was 15, I wanted the Nintendo, and I'm going to be honest with you, I did not think I was getting one. So I got the Nintendo NES when I was 15 for my 15th birthday, and I was completely blown away that I had it. So I have been a Nintendo fan ever since. But Korkenstein, I think, you know, you said something. I'm not going to steal your words. I want you to use the exact wordage about what you think Nintendo is. And I think that this is a prime example of that. Let's get your thoughts on the confirmation of the pre-orders, the pricing of the console. Thank God is not changing, but the accessories seem to be a little bit egregious. What's your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I'm just gonna go just spicy right off the bat. Nintendo, eat a bag of D's. Just eat a fat bag of D's. Seriously, it. What are you doing? So, okay, they would have gotten blasted if they would have put the Nintendo Switch even higher than it already was. They know that's not going to sell. So what are they going to do? Keep it the same price. Once they get you in the ecosystem, they're going to nickel and dime their own consumer base. That is horrible. That is awful. Maybe, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just because I've been in the Xbox ecosystem for so long, and you see the consumer-friendly choices and practices and things that they do. You know, where I think even like look at what is it? Breath of the Wild isn't going to have cloud saves or something like that.
Ridiculous.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
you're not going to get a free upgrade or whatever from the Nintendo Switch 2 or whatever to the, I think it was the Tears of the Kingdom. Just what are you doing? You're making it so hard. I mean, to stay in your own ecosystem, and you're doing it purely because you are Nintendo. Like this is like PS3 levels of arrogance right here. Um, I really honestly don't get it. Like, how are you going to do it? And like you were 100% right. That whole market condition thing at the very end, that's like a super FOMO moment right there. They're like, hey, better get in early or else we're going to jack the prices up on you later. That's basically what they're saying.
Yes.
These accessories, and I mean, like you said, this stuff costs like 10 cents to make.
It really does, especially when you. And again, no offense. I'm not trying to be like gross in any way. There's a reason why they moved it from China to then eventually ending up. They did Vietnam first because let's call a spade a spade. It's slave labor there, which is disgusting. But then when they weren't making enough money and filling their coffers, they then went to Cambodia. And Cambodia is where they ended up making these things. And it's I think I would, again, I don't know the market conditions there, but I would imagine that it's worse for the workers in Cambodia than Vietnam, right? Vietnam, whether they're shoulder to shoulder, I couldn't tell you, but they moved the production there for a reason. So they are literally probably paying a half a penny to put on to make one of those stupid straps for the Joy-Con. And they're charging $15. Like, get out of here with that.
Yeah. So let's do the math here. Nintendo Switch 2 Mario Kart bundle. Let's say you buy that. That's $500. We're not even including taxes yet.
Okay.
That's $500. You want the wheel set to go with it? That's another 25. So you're at 525 right now. You want to make sure that, while you're walking around, you're not going to drop your thing or your Switch, or it's not going to get banged up. You're going to do the all-in-one carrying case. That's $85 right there. So now you're looking at like $610, right? You're definitely probably going to need the Microsoft Express, 50, because you want to download some other stuff to your things. So already at $610. So now you're going to be at $670. You want to get the strap, so that's $14. So you're at $684. And then you want to get the charging grip. So that's going to be another $40. So now you're at $720 something. That's not even with tax. With tax at the end of that, you're looking close to $800.
Yeah.
Just to get into the ecosystem. You're buying a PS Pro. That's basically what you're doing. And that's only one game. One game. I don't know what they're doing. This is insanely. My mind's just blown. Like, I don't see how anybody can buy this. And I really do think they are going to fail. Not fail, but I'm pretty sure they'll get some sales. There'll be that whole FOMO thing of everybody rushing to get, but I just can't see in today's market climate being a Nintendo, consumer, how it's sustainable, especially when you have other, like I said, other platforms that are doing way more better consumer friendly things for the market. I think this is really gonna backfire on Nintendo pretty hard, and and they're rightfully 100% to deserve it. I just feel bad for being a Nintendo gamer and consumer base. You've grown up, like you said, you're gonna get two of them, and they're gonna nickel and dime the crap out of you, Boom, purely just for greed. It's horrible, and this is, Paris said it. This is becoming an elitist hobby, and Nintendo's setting this trend. $80 games, overpriced accessories. Gaming's supposed to be for everyone, and this is coming from Nintendo. That has always, they've been a toy company and, creating things for people to enjoy, coming at the market with new ideas and crazy ideas to make gaming fun. And they're ripping off the consumer base, the gamers here that love, that have grown up with these titles for years. What is going on?
Yeah, it's it's very strange. I understand that this is a business. You're never going to hear me come at this from some angle that I've not really kind of looked at every corner of what I'm about to say. I do take a great stake in what I produce and what we talk about here. I take my time to write these topics. Everyone that has worked with me understands that you get show notes, and obviously, thanks to King David, they have been scaled down because I used to do show notes that were like college course essays and be like, boom, you gotta slow down the show notes. So I make those show notes for me because I need to know dates, I need to know times, I even have stuff like when I have to pronounce someone's name, I'll do the Google thing and I'm like, okay, I gotta learn how to pronounce names so I don't sound like a boob. So I take this stuff super serious. But I think you're onto something when you say that this could backfire on Nintendo. Silent Cypher, the pricing of the consoles have not changed, but though in the presser from Nintendo, it does suggest that if the market conditions suggest that a price increase could happen, other Nintendo products, that's the words that they use, could be affected. I think this was I really do stand on this stone where I think Nintendo was spooked. I really think that they were like, yo, we're not going to sell these consoles because people are not going to be able to afford them. And again, that Doug Bowser comment about, hey, if you can't afford a Switch 2, we got a Switch for you. It's called the Switch 1 there. And don't do that ever again. And we don't know, right? They have not been on sale yet. The pricing is the pricing. Again, I'm not buying any accessories. Now, I know there's going to be some people in the chat, but like, hey, boom, you're a part of the problem. You're still buying the console. One, I don't really have to explain why I buy games, but I'm in the business, so I need a Nintendo Switch too. But I don't need it for me. If it was $700, I already told you I wasn't buying it. Tyler's getting one day one. It's not even a question, right? But what this is going to do for me, Silent Cypher, is I'm really going to kind of slow down on what I buy in Nintendo. Unless it's a mainline game, I'm going to probably try and get it used. I'll probably try to do the eBay thing because I'm just not going to be able to afford it at $80 and $90 games. And again, I don't want to be a part of the problem that way. Donkey Kong I'll buy. I think that's reasonable. I mean, it's probably a $50 title, but it's $70. I'm getting Mario Kart World. I'm not buying it by itself. I'm getting it through the console upgrade, which is only $50 for the game, which is, the way I'm going to go. Let's get your thoughts on this, Silent Cypher. I think that that Korkenstein really hit the nail on the head when he said that there is a arrogance on display here, and I really believe that this could, in fact, backfire on Nintendo.
Yeah. Before I dive into my whole thing, I did want to touch real quick on what you were saying about Bowser's comment. The thing is like Bowser's comment was literally the modern day version of Don Matrix saying, yes. "Oh, you don't have an internet connection. You're a plebe. You can't afford the nicer things. Okay, here's your Xbox 360." Like, again, it goes to what Korkenstein's already mentioned. It's arrogance. It's a level of arrogance that you would think that they would have learned by now. It's a problem. I feel like it's almost a disease that a lot of people, they're very bent on calling Microsoft and Sony when there are price discrepancies. But when it's Nintendo, it doesn't matter what it is, they'll still go for it. Now, I'm happy to see that there's been quite a bit of resistance this time around. You see a lot of people talking out about it and actually taking them to task. But the problem is the words aren't going to carry very long, because as soon as the pre-orders open up, people are going to flock to it. They're going to freak out. Nintendo is going to be emboldened by the fact that they can do this. And just like what you were saying, the pricing is staying the same for now. Pricing's not going to stay the same. Pricing's going to go up. Why? Because it's Nintendo. And just like Bowser's comment, if you want Nintendo, you're going to pay for it. You're going to lean over and you're going to open your wallet. Pause. But that's what they're going to do. They're going to say, "Oh, you got a few extra bucks in that wallet? That's ours. Property of Nintendo. You get that Nintendo seal of quality right there on that dollar. And that's what this generation for them is going to be. They're they're going to rake their customers over the coals. And the problem that we run into is, like you said, you grew up on Nintendo. It's just like me. I was there back in the day on Super Nintendo. I was there playing those when they came out, and I loved them. They were great. Nintendo nowadays is not the same Nintendo. It's not the one I grew up with. This isn't to play games and for the fun of the game. This is to fund a level of arrogance and greed that I'm just not on board with. Um, could I pre-order it? Could I afford it? Sure. But I'm not interested in supporting it. They can, hopefully, enough people vote with their wallet and tell them, no, this isn't okay. And the fact that the price on this system was already at 450 before tariffs blows my mind, because that's a level of arrogance on its own. Good job. You gave it a little extra beef under the system, so it's a little stronger. Now it's like a 5 or 6 year old hardware spec instead of 10 or 15 years old. So good job. But 450, you're crazy. That is out of that is out of its mind on its own. The accessory pricings that we're seeing, the fact that Mario Kart, you're just getting more verticality, so they're going to charge you out out the side for that. Mario Kart looked like the same Mario Kart it was 10 years ago. Maybe they'll prove me wrong, but I this reminds me of just a couple days ago. I've been going back through and I've been watching some baseball movies. And, for some reason, I just got the bug. I started watching some of those again, going back to stuff that I really enjoyed as a kid. And my wife came over and she's like, "What the hell's up with this run on baseball movies that you're doing? Like, you're playing Super Mega Baseball, you're watching all these baseball movies. We don't go to baseball games anymore. Why do you care so much? Why are you so interested?" And it comes down to the same thing as that as it does with Nintendo. I miss baseball from back when I was a kid, when I could go see the Raptors or whoever at a small little, baseball field out in the middle of Podunk, Ogden, instead of like before they became a big, well, on Utah's terms, a big team, and got their own field and stuff. Like I miss the game back when there wasn't that arrogance. People wanted to play the game. They enjoyed the game. It was for the love of the game. And then when they shifted to that new team, they shifted to new management, everything changed. Suddenly it was about the greed. It was about well, I'm not making enough money. And that's how I feel Nintendo is at this point, is like, it's not the Nintendo I go to because I enjoy the warm, fun memories. I see it now and I'm just like, yeah, you're still releasing the same things over and over again, but there's no heart in it. Like, it's solely
Yeah.
to make that money. And so, that's where I'm sitting with it, is I feel like the pricing was out of whack from the initial announcement. The fact that the pricing has not gotten better realistically, it's not for me. And like I said, I hope enough people vote with their wallet, make a decision, and show Nintendo, just like when Microsoft and Sony make these arrogant decisions throughout the generations, I hope they get slapped for it. And I hope that they learn and adjust accordingly.
Well, I mean, listen. First of all, great points of view as always. As we always expect to have you here. Fuzzy Belvedere, let's bring you in. Okay, so listen, Nintendo is who we thought that they were. I think that the pricing of the consoles stayed because they honestly were like, we're in trouble. Right? I mean, whether or not that's true or not, I still think in the long run, especially when you just read the presser for yourself, folks. I'll add it in the show notes so you can just click on it. The market conditions statement suggests to me, because they said other Nintendo products. Well, I mean, I don't know, call me crazy, but the other Nintendo products are either games or the freaking console. They've already listed everything that they have for the Switch 2, and maybe they meant older Switch products. I maybe, I don't think so. I think they were talking about, current Switch 2 stuff. And I think that the pricing on the console, look, I'm going to be honest with you. Silent Cypher, you're onto something. I know that you, as a PC guy, will look at the Nintendo Switch 2 and be like, yeah, that's not worth the price of admission. I don't think the $449 is egregious. I think it is how much higher than I would have thought. I think a lot of people were hoping that this thing was going to come in at $399.99. I think that's most of us expected that. And I was one of those people in that camp. The $449, okay, it's fine. That I like what they've done with the Joy-Con. I still think that the cloud saving thing is just weird, man. It's super weird to me. The updates, again, they're getting like Sony charging the $10 for the upgrade of the graphics when you already own the game, so you really shouldn't have to pay for it, but people will. I will not. I'm just not going to do that. Same way I don't do it for Sony's games. The games look good enough for me. That's fine. But Reaper of Steel Rain, my brother from another. It's great to see you here. Steel will help sell your channel, of course, because Saturday mornings, folks, don't forget, him and Pang Soul, his brother from another, consistently do their amazing podcast at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. He says that I think the console price is fine. It's everything else that makes no sense. And I think he's right with that. Let's get your thoughts on it, Fuzzy Belvedere. Pricing for accessories for most gaming companies have always been egregious. We all know that they're what does Xbox make on a controller? Make a lot of money. How much does it actually cost them? What, $20, $25? If you really want to push the envelope, they're doubling their money on everyone. And you know what? I buy a lot of consoles. I mean, a lot of controllers. I only have two hands, but I got a lot of freaking controllers. Let's get your thoughts on the Nintendo pricing, man.
Well, and somebody may mention this in the chat as well, but one of the key things, the console not being made in China, being made in Vietnam, I guess some of them may have also been made in Cambodia.
Yeah.
They should have avoided some of the tariff concerns. So those remained at the price because it would be really hard for them to justify to their public or to their customer base increase in that regard. But the accessories, some of them are still made in China. So that's reflective of the up and downs of the, potential tariffs that might be involved. Exceptions be damned kind of thing, excuse my language, but they did the adjustment on what they know today that they're probably going to take a hit on for, future shipments coming to the States where, okay, this one's made in China, this controller piece or this accessory, go ahead and mark it up 25, 45, 35, whatever percentage they need to still make the margins that they're looking for, which in the old days, a lot of electronic companies were willing to make upwards of 50%. So for each device you were buying, you were paying for their cost for two. But in the grand scheme of things, they can't really do that. There's been this race to the bottom where everything is with tighter margins, somewhere around like the 15% range or lower. So with that being said, if you're interested in getting a Switch 2, try your best to get it, that pre-order put in April 24th, because if you don't, the actual, what do they call those? The scalpers will. The scalpers are going to be just as annoying and frustrating as they were for the PS5. I know a lot of people almost had to wait a year and a half, almost 2 years before they could finally get one in a store that they can go and pick up at retail price. So take into account that scalpers, seeing how this situation is, they're going to be the opportunists and do what they normally do and try to buy up all the inventory they can. So if you haven't already signed up for the invitation thing through Nintendo Direct, be prepared because online bots are going to be a nuisance once again. But all of that being said, I agree with Steele as well as many others that the price on the console is fair. The bundle deal is fair. I mean, you're saving the $30 markup on Mario Kart. I guess the thing that I have the biggest problem with is that Nintendo game prices almost never go on sale. And when they do go on sale, it's like a 5 cent type of thing, or maybe $5 at max. And that might be for a game that bombed kind of deal. As opposed to the other platforms where usually even after a year, there's like $20 off or it's half price or something along those lines. But Nintendo game price is not going down. We'll see how things, go for them. Like I do think this is going to sell. I don't think that this is going to be a Wii U 2, but I don't think it's going to light the world on fire quite like the original Switch did in comparison. But it'll still do big numbers and probably satisfy their shareholders and whatnot. But in the grand scheme of things, definitely get those consoles if you're interested. Get them as soon as you can, because scalpers for probably the next couple of years are going to make life a hell for those that do want it, that didn't hop in the beginning. And then by the time that 2-year span goes, who knows? The prices for the base console might be $550 or higher. I would not be surprised. And that might not even be just on tariffs. Like we have no idea what inflation is going to look like a year from now. Like every day it seems like eggs go up $1 or it's almost $1 an egg type of thing in some areas, bigger cities and such. But yeah, I would say get in if you're a Nintendo fan, get in early. Otherwise, prepare for the unknown where scalpers make it very difficult to get the stuff and get it at a retail price and whatnot. And for those that are saying, well, is this going to be insight to the next gen of consoles? I guess we can all look at the PS5 Pro as an example.
Perfect. Great point.
I would not be surprised if the big boy Xbox is $600 to start. But then again, we'll see. Microsoft is that bigger company where they could do subsidies like they've been doing for decades. Hearing rumors that they might not, but who knows? If Xbox wants to get even a bigger portion of the market space next gen, maybe they add some subsidies or start bundling more things in with the initial purchase. But yeah, be prepared. Start saving your pennies now for 2026 and 2027, just in case sticker shock for these consoles winds up being $600 to start for a digital only box and whatnot. But we'll see how that goes. But I don't know. I've been tempted to get this Switch bundle, even though I'm not a Nintendo fan, just not to be that scalper guy, but just to have it. And
it's
then
an investment. I hate this. I hate to say it. Sound like just I know that sounds ridiculous. Like we're gamers, right? I know a lot of us, messing around with stocks and stuff behind the scenes, but it technically is an investment because if you do get it and it is sold out, that thing goes up in value by at least 50% almost immediately. So if you buy it for $5, you could sell it for $750. We don't want to be those people, and I'm not buying anything.
I mean, if a Nintendo fan is really going to just pucker up and deal with the cost, I'll charge them double if they're foolish enough to do it.
So basically, you're saying if the shoe fits, wear it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you could buy two and have your other one paid for by selling the other one type of deal. But I don't want to be that guy, but I might wind up being that guy just because.
Yeah. Well, if you have the means and you have the ability to get one, you sit on it, you're definitely gonna make money for sure. But look, at the end of the day, like I said, I think and Steele actually had said it in the chat earlier. He said the sweet spot would have been $399.99, and I think he's right. I think that it would have been the perfect pricing, even if it was just for the console itself, like $400 for the console itself. I think would have been fair. $450 for the Mario Kart World Edition, fine, right? $50 for the software. Technically, it's $80 for either the physical or digital. You're saving $30. That's great. But that's not what happened here. And again, I know there's gonna be some people who are like, don't buy it. Okay, yeah. Again, if that's your stance, you should not buy it. I'm going to buy it because I'm a Nintendo fan. I don't think the $500 is bad when you consider what we're paying for with consoles for the Xbox and for the PlayStation. Now, granted, those consoles are way more powerful, but Nintendo finds a way. And I see what you're saying, Science Life. You're not wrong for feeling that way because you're a PC guy, so you understand.
What does what does Nintendo not have that Xbox can charge you for? Oh, Game Pass. That's right.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you've
Yeah.
got a baked in ecosystem of games right there that you can play versus Nintendo's going to offer you a bunch of remakes and charge you 10 to 15 bucks more for each one.
Yeah, and worse than that, as a matter of fact, you know what? Before we move on to the big topic of the show, ladies and gentlemen, I gotta get into the super chats, but there is a particular super chat here that I want to actually quite. You know what? I'm going to start from the beginning because each one of them makes a great point, and we're going to get into what they have to say. So Dwayne Calavito, Dwayne, thank you so much. He doesn't drop one; he drops two $10 super chats. So a big thank you. That we super appreciate it. The first one, he says, to be honest, y'all, this pricing, this is the pricing we need to be looking at for the next gen console generation. It's not going to be any cheaper this day forward. I'm still buying the Switch too. I think that, Fuzzy actually had said it, and I think this is the reality, folks. Xbox takes a massive hit on the Series X. I think the X is 200. I think the S is 100, or it might be the other way around. I'm not exactly sure, but they're taking a hit. Sony is taking a bit of a hit as well. I don't know if it's as much, but I can tell you that is going to end this generation. That is not happening next generation. The next Xbox, if it's what we think it is, if it's this magic box underneath the TV that plays your Steam, your good old games, your Epic Games Store, and also plays all of your Xbox games, it's probably going to be $699 out the gate. That I think it's a $700 console easily. So that's not bad considering that Sony charged $700 for the current console. So the PlayStation 6, $899.99. That's just my thing. We'll see. We will see, but I think there is going to be a cause and effect by what Nintendo did. We'll be talking about this 6 months from now, 12 months from now, 2026, 2027, next generation. We are going to see the cause and effect of what Nintendo did with their console pricing, and more so, and the worst of it all is the software pricing. That $80 and the quote unquote variable pricing that they used is dangerous, and it could cost this industry and see it crash like it did in the early 80s. We'll see. But do you, K now, the broke boy insider, drops a very generous $5 super chat. And he says, Silent Cypher just explained why I go to a minor league baseball game instead of a major league baseball one. Price is too much, and I'm 50 miles from DC, so I have that option. Yeah, I mean, you know something, I'm going to be honest with you. You get a better viewing experience going to a minor league game, and those kids, they're playing for it, right? They're hoping that they do something, that someone sees them, someone scouts them. Thank you, sir. Well said. Well said. Those kids are hungry, so they're going to give it all. They're going to give it their all, and it's just it's a much nicer experience when I've been to quite a few of the minor league games. They're fun. It's like a college atmosphere, if you know what I mean. That's what it kind of feels like. Great points, everybody. Dwayne drops an additional very generous $10 super chat. And he says the Switch 2 price will not change until the inventory in the United States and Canada is depleted. Then the rest of the shipment will include tariffs. That is what I'm afraid of. And dude, that is a great freaking point. See, because the rumor, I don't know if anyone remembers me talking about this or if you've heard the rumor yourself, supposedly the reason why the Nintendo Switch was delayed until this year wasn't because it wasn't ready. It wasn't, they wanted to, supposedly they have 20 million for the US alone. Now, is that true? Well, I don't know. I don't have the spreadsheet. That's the rumor. But that sounds like a Nintendo thing. Stockpile, wait, stockpile, wait. And then they release it. And, is it 20 million for the world, or is it 20 million for just this region? It's going to be very interesting. Another super chat comes in the way here of Freddie Fox. So, Freddie, shout out to you, brother. Thank you very much for the very generous $2 super chat. And this is a great point. It's $330 in Japan, and we pay $450. That's asinine. Yeah, they're getting the home team discount, and folks, I'm an importer. I don't import as much now as I did back in the days. Like PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3 days, TurboGrafx 16, all the old school stuff. I imported everything, even GameCube stuff. I was like, I ain't waiting. I import, right? Nintendo did something devious, and they region locked the Switch 2 to Japan, which means that you can only buy games from Japan. So if you're going to try and import it, and you think $80 is high, that's a $120 investment. So even if you get the $100 less console, you still got to buy Japanese games, unlike the Switch 1, which is not locked. I import stuff all the time, mostly shooters is what I get, arcade shooters. But yeah, it's again, opening salvo, ladies and gentlemen. Great conversation, great opinions from the chat. Thank you so much for, the chat for being in here. Great conversation and opinions from, of course, the panel here. But we got to get into topic number 2. Now, I'm going first here to Korkenstein. And this is, again, folks, one of the reasons why I love having such professionals on the panel that we have here today for you. Because they're all professionals in their own way. They can run their own shows. And this is an open-ended conversation. Phil Spencer, if you did not know or missed the opening of the show, did another interview with Variety on April 15th. And the reason why we're talking about it isn't because of what he was there for. He was there to talk about the success of the Minecraft movie, which is projected to hit $1 billion. Okay? Has been made famous or infamous, if you will, through the chicken jockey situation, which my nephew right here just runs around the house, keeps saying. He loves it, right? So chicken jockey, popular, right? It has exploded on the scene. You have people bringing real chickens to the theaters. Don't do that, folks. Please don't bring the real chickens to the theaters. Don't throw popcorn on people just watching it with their families. Don't do that either. But this actually happened. He was originally there to talk about what they're going to do moving forward through film, right? And through TV. And Microsoft has Gears of War in production at Netflix. Halo was just picked up by Netflix. So they're going to be running that. Supposedly they're working on a season 3. There's a lot coming. Obviously Fallout season 2, Fallout season 1 was exploded for Amazon. So you're going to see more IPs get there. That's what he originally was there for. But that's not what we're here to talk about. Quite frankly, that's boring, right? We're here to talk about the finite points that he did talk about. And there were 4, right? There were 4 that I have in front of me. I've already sent the notes. So, of course, when I say open-ended, the panel is going to attack this from wherever interests them first. But Hazardor Gaming, as he's done many times before, put out an amazing tweet. And it has 4 points of context for what Phil Spencer had to talk about. And it says, new interview with Phil Spencer on Microsoft's gaming business. And these are the 4 finite points I was talking about. Committed to developing new IP. Game Pass as a healthy option for consumers. A big believer in Nintendo Switch 2 and what they're going to do as a partner with Nintendo. That's huge. And this is another one, big one for me, more unannounced games. And he followed that up by saying some stuff that's unannounced, and I'm working in my own head to make sure that he doesn't leak anything by accident. And Phil's a gamer. He's like us. He's excited. He wants to talk about stuff. He leaks stuff all the time, sometimes on purpose, sometimes not. Korkenstein, I think that there were so many amazing points, positive points of view that Phil Spencer talked about. Let's get the ones that you thought were important.
I think the big unannounced games is probably a pretty big one that is definitely getting me excited. You got to think they have, June is pretty much a month and a half away for them. They probably already have their slate locked down for what's coming. And they, so he's already probably seen I guess the call sheet or whatever it is for it. He already knows exactly what they're going to be announcing, probably the showcase lineup, because they got to have the trailers if they're going to do any live demo kind of thing. That well, not live since it's digital only, but you know what I mean, like if they're going to have somebody play the games and stuff. So I mean, we've already known that's coming. I think that's a really, really good point. To kind of segue into the new IPs, for that, committed to developing new IPs. I want to kind of read something that he talked about real quick. Oh, dang it. I hit my mouse scroll up button in it. And this is where I'm excited of where they're coming from for new IPs, because it seems like this is the same kind of mentality that they have for the movies that they're coming out with. He said, is there a Microsoft IP that you think shouldn't be adapted, or is it more anything could be? It's just about how it's done. Do you try to do Warcraft again? Would you never do Call of Duty? Are there things that you wouldn't touch, or you could, but it needs to be done a certain way? And Phil responds, the video game business is successful by itself. It doesn't need this outlet. He's 100% right. You've got to start with a partner who understands our team and the story of that IP, and then letting them work through the process. That's my only barrier. Let's never turn this into something where it has to get done. Every franchise has to have a game or movie or TV show, and it becomes more like licensing. It's got to be it's got to be about the creative outlet that linear media offers for our franchises. And that's the same thing, like I said, with some of these unannounced titles, and how they're approaching these new IPs. I mean, I know we're Banjo Bros, but basically, I mean, this is kind of what he's saying on maybe why we haven't seen a Banjo, or why they don't want to turn this into where it's a rinse and repeat, to where they're doing it purely because they're looking to cash grab. And that's such a healthy thing for us, especially as fans of certain things. I wouldn't want them to just, oh, everyone's asking for Banjo, let's just give it to this studio. And they're like, well, we're a new studio. There's probably even younger devs like, who's Banjo? And now they're developing Banjo. And they have no idea what the IP is, what it's about, what's its essence. They're having to do all this research, and it's just not there. So in regards to those, they kind of go hand in hand, and I'm happy. It's not like, I mean, Last of Us is very successful. Don't get me wrong. The TV show's doing very well, but you definitely know that, it kind of probably turned into the board meeting rooms, how can we stretch this for 4 seasons, or 5 seasons, or, and then, it's turning into like a Game of Thrones where the books aren't even done. So they're just going to kind of phone it in for like the last few seasons. It's, you start to turn it into that. And then now something that was such a passion for people is being ruined. And I really, really like that Xbox is saying, no, we're not going to do that. Let's take a step back. Let's do stuff that people are actually passionate about, people that actually understand the material, and can create something fun. And that's great. And that's something he's been saying for years, even before this, to where he doesn't want to just force things. I think it was he did the interview, I think in like 2022, I think it was. And yeah, I mean, he basically has been saying this is the messaging. So kudos to them. I really hope, I'm excited to see what they have, because it's coming from a place of genuine love and passion for those IPs.
Yeah, I mean, look, if there's one thing that you can take away from Phil Spencer still being the CEO of Microsoft Gaming, now how long he remains in that position before considering retirement is both concerning and, of course, exciting, because as with Phil in that spot, you made a one word mention here: passion. He understands the business. He started with Microsoft 30 years ago as an intern, right? He's been started out with a no pay intern, and now he's running the company. That's the guy you want running the company. He's one of us, folks. He is literally one of us. He's a gamer. He has more time in Vampire Survivors, one of my favorite games of the past decade, than I even do. And I play it almost at least once or twice a week because I love that game. And they just got new DLC, free DLC, by the way. So Ponicle, wherever you are, I want to see this person, man. I want to give him a hug and a $20, $20. Boom, here you go. Just put this into the coffers. Make some more content. But having Phil in charge is a big deal because he is ultimately going to be the one to make the decisions on not gouging the audience, but putting things out that he knows that we really want through passion. That's a great point of view. So again, this is open-ended conversation, ladies and gentlemen. This is one of the things that I love about having professionals like this on the panel, that we can get into it, we can talk. So before I hand the mic over to Silent Cypher, the one thing that I kind of really wanted to be pointed about here, and this, I'm not aggravated or annoyed or mad. I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in a lot of the games media for running with this Xbox boss says you don't need Game Pass. That's not actually what he said. I have his quote right in front of me. I am going to read it verbatim. And again, because we don't do the names things, because we're not looking to embarrass anybody. We're not. I understand the business of journalism. I understand you got to get clicks in. I would have come at it from a different angle, but every one of them that I did read that was bad, you just the nature of the way it was written, just the title was written was to get the click. And again, folks, I'm not a boob. I understand that it is a business. People have to pay the journalists to be there, so they need people to click on their websites. But I think that out of everything that he said during this Variety interview that was strictly meant to be only about what they're doing in film and transmedia, right? That's what it was originally about. It became a gaming conversation, as it probably should have. And one of the things that he stressed was about Game Pass not being a business model for everyone. And I'm going to read verbatim. And this is where, again, I don't want to use the word annoyed, more so disappointed, especially some of the journalists that I really consider tip of spear ran with this as well. And it's a bit disappointing. So this is what Phil had to say. For me, I look at Game Pass as a healthy option for certain people. It is not for everyone. If you play 1 or 2 games a year, Game Pass probably isn't the right business model for you. You should just buy those 2 games. And that would make total sense. End quote. That is incredibly different than many of the game journalists that I consider tip of spear used. And I think that's gross. And I think that, again, go back to the article, read it for yourself. I read the article twice, ladies and gentlemen. And there are so many incredible key points that as an Xbox fan, you should be running around your house excited. New IPs are coming. That means that games that, you didn't know that they were going to make, they're going to surprise you with it, right? There are a bunch of unannounced games coming this year, second half of the year, folks, that are going to be announced in June, right? Could that be Clockwork Revolution? Sure. Could that be the Fallout 3 remake that's like the Oblivion remake that they're calling a remaster that really isn't a remaster? Really weird there. But there could be others. How is that not celebrated? How is that not the lead title for your article? I know why. Because negativity sells. You said it earlier in the green room, Silent Cypher. If it bleeds, people read, right? That's just the way it is, and it's very unfortunate. That's my spiel. Let's bring in Silent Cypher. There were a lot of really good points here. I'm interested to get your thoughts.
Right. Well, yeah. First off, great article that they ended up having. I feel like they dove into a lot of detail, which was nice. I agree with you fully. There's a lot of disingenuous takes out there right now because they want the attention, they want that clickbait, and that's what we've discovered over the last couple of years or whatever is like that's what everyone's trying to target nowadays. I guess not everyone, but the majority of them. They want to throw something out there that gets the attention, whether it's legit or not. I mean, you see it all the time. If you go in, you click on Google, and it brings up like your 8 or 9 topic daily brief or whatever, and tells you what's coming. Almost every single one, when you look at it, the title doesn't have anything to do with the actual topic, or it sends you in a completely different direction. Just so you click it, and then you get in there and you're like, oh, it was the, as you would say, the banana in the tailpipe. And that's common nowadays. It sucks. I'm not happy that that's the case, and I would hope that folks that we know and that we've been in this ecosystem with, I would hope that they would do better. I would hope that they had a more balanced moral compass when it came to these things. Like if you got to pay the bills with lies, you go ahead and do what you need to do. But personally, I don't sleep well with that. And if I were in that situation, I would be finding something else to maybe do if that's an issue where you have to put your morals aside. But that's just me. In regards to this article, there are a few things that I did want to touch on. And of course, Korkenstein's already mentioned it, and you've mentioned it as well. But one of the key takeaways that I have from this is obviously games first, media second, right? That's something that I take from this that I'm happy to see is like obviously they're having success in the film side of things, in movies, TV. It's working out for them. Obviously, not everything is going to be hit, and Phil even acknowledges this in the article. He states, like, hey, Halo didn't work, right? Like it got canceled. It didn't go the way we were hoping necessarily, but that's allowed us to maybe be more cautious and make sure everything is fully baked before we kick it out. You look at something like Fallout, you look at the success of Minecraft at this point in time, they are learning from these mistakes. They're actively learning when it comes to their console and comes to the games and stuff too. I feel like whether people liked it or not, whether it was received well or not by most people, Redfall was a good example of a situation where something got kicked out because they wanted to meet a deadline. It shouldn't have been released at the time it was. It was a regret. That team suffered for it, and realistically, it could have been avoided. And I feel like that's the same thing as this Halo situation. Is the TV series could have been better. They could have gone a different direction with it, but they didn't have the right partner. They pushed it out at a time that they didn't really need it. So I'm glad to see that he is realigning some of those moves or looking for the right partners for the projects. Again, he highlights the fact that not every franchise will be adapted. He stresses that alignment with that creative partner makes the most sense. That's where you want to put your focus in. So that relieves me as a fan of these different IPs and franchises, because I don't want to see them release something crappy. It's like there have been a lot of games that got a movie, and I was like, why did you do this? Like the Uwe Boll films of the day, right? I didn't need a Postal movie from that guy. I didn't need a Far Cry movie. I didn't need a Blood Rain movie from that guy. He took the IP and just kind of dumped on it. Like he he took a giant dump on those franchises. And it sucked to see because those franchises didn't deserve it. So it definitely goes to what he's saying, like find the right partner, align it accordingly, give them the time. Give them the time to cook. Let them do what they need to do. Another thing for me, as you mentioned, so obviously going back to your conversation about people mischaracterizing what Phil was saying about Game Pass. Yes, like you don't have to have Game Pass. Game Pass is one of the many models that Microsoft is targeting. There's many ways for them to grow this platform moving forward. We've seen it with the cloud streaming. We've seen it with collaborating with other system creators, right? Like Nintendo and Microsoft seem to have a pretty good relationship. I'll be very curious how this generation plays out, but neither here nor there. they're still going to try and get their stuff on that platform. The hardware is in a better spot than it was previously. And so they can get some of these games that are more current gen. They can get them there, whether there'll be caveats or whatever. They can make it work. They can offer it as just a streaming item, as some other games have done on the previous Switch. Or if the game can play it there, they can just drop down resolution or modify it accordingly. But that's another target that they're doing, is you're seeing Xbox games on PlayStation and Nintendo and PC. They're trying to get to that 3 billion gamer mark. And this allows them to do that. They're expanding their portfolio and they're diversifying how you can access their content. And they're learning from previous times. Like, I know back in the day, we were all very keen on like, oh, walled garden, I want this exclusive on my system, blah, blah, blah. The way the market is nowadays, it's not the same. And you can't play it the same way. You can't approach it the same way because budgets are so high for these games. You have to try and figure out a way to get your ROI, your return on investment. And so how do you do that? You make it available to as many people as possible. That means putting it on that mobile screen, having Call of Duty on your mobile, having stuff on Nintendo, PlayStation, like wherever they can put it, they're going to put it because they want to make the money back so they can continue to sustain the business and make sure that they can actually live into the future and keep delivering stuff for the consumer. Make no cuts about it. Like, obviously it's a business, and if something's not working, they're going to cut it. He mentioned, like I said, adding it to the Switch 2, bringing it to these other systems and stuff. Like, they're going to try it. It might not be new IPs that go out of the actual Xbox ecosystem to start off with, but getting some of those old IPs, those well-known IPs out there, like we've talked about, stuff like Gears, come into PlayStation. If that happens, it makes sense. Why do you do it? To bring more attention when the new Gears of War comes out. It's all a strategy to try and support those IPs into the future. And then they can say, hey, you like this, you like these games and stuff, come check out what we're cooking over here in the Xbox ecosystem. And then they can pull people back to that ecosystem, be it Game Pass, be it whatever. Because even though the articles were out there saying Game Pass isn't needed, Game Pass is needed. There's a lot of users. There's a lot of people in that ecosystem. I think I've probably covered most. The IP strategy thing. One of the things I liked about that was the fact that, so of course he emphasized not every IP is going to work as a movie and a game. They're going to test things out. They're going to make sure that certain things fit. I don't know about you guys, but I don't need a Guitar Hero movie.
I don't think I need that, but I do need a new Guitar Hero. Let's be clear.
Exactly. And he's receptive of the fact that, like, hey, there are certain things that are going to fit with our goals. Doing a movie of Guitar Hero, I'm sure, is not one of them. But to bring out one of those games, how long has it been since we had a last Guitar Hero? That was what, 2012?
Oh, dude, it's been a minute, bro. Yeah.
It's been a minute. So if you put that out there, that's got attention that's going to draw a lot of people back in. It's got that nostalgia factor for us guys who grew up in the 360 era and really enjoyed that era. That brings us right back in. So I think that's smart. I hope that they continue to approach it in the same way, as like, make sure that you're just focusing on IPs that make sense. Get creative with it. Let studios do some stuff. We would have never seen South of Midnight had they not given that studio the opportunity to just do their thing. And that's a great little game. Like, the visual styles, the story narrative, everything about it has personality. It's got character. And it's really enjoyable to play through because they gave them the opportunity, they gave them the resources, and they just let them do their thing. And I think that's one of the key takeaways from this article for me, is just he's recognized that the teams need to be able to work what they want to work, do what they want to do creatively with it. Don't be forced into like, oh hey, you got to make Call of Duty 40, whatever the next one's going to be at this point. Like, he'll have studios go in there, do some stuff, bring some new ideas, new IPs out there, while also supporting those key pillars. So I think that's a good thing. Yeah, if anything, I'm just pleased with where it seems like his head's at with it, and where the business seems to be following through right now.
Yeah, great points all around. We had a point here from. Let me see if I could find it. Where was it? It was really good. Oh man, the chat is flying. Hold on a sec. I got to find it. It was really good. It was, who was it? Slim Reaper. Slim Reaper, welcome to the channel, brother. Great to have you here in the chat. He says, but he wouldn't be. He would be down for a Guitar Hero anime. Yeah, you know what? I'm not gonna front. I'll be down.
Not for me, but
okay,
if it's got an
fine.
audience, then fine.
It's fine. Not for everybody.
If it's got an audience, then cool. Yeah.
I'd be down with that. Listen, again, there really is a lot to take away from this article that I think is positive. Not just positive for Xbox as a corporation. I think everything Phil had to say, he was talking to you and me. He was talking to us. New IPs matter. Great. Check. Boom. Right? Game Pass matters. Not for everyone, but it's a model that we're going to keep pushing because it's not the only model. Check. That means Game Pass isn't going away. Games going to other consoles, us old men, us old timers, we still wouldn't sign off on it, but we understand that it's a part of business. And when everyone else is raising their prices, they're making Game Pass affordable for the common person in a way that I'll put it this way. When you look at the market, again, folks, let's pull a steel rain and do the, RTS view, as he likes to say, right? Look at the market. The market is so volatile right now, right? It could explode at any minute. Prices are going up, right? Console prices are not what they need to be. 10 years ago, in the fifth year of a console, you would get a price reduction. No, you got a $50 price increase for the PlayStation 5 Slim. Like, that's the world we're living in. And somehow, even though Nintendo was charging $80 and $90 for games, there's a service called Game Pass that you can get even at the $20 a month is ridiculous, right? So the fact that he's self-aware of that is big for us. It's, again, could they raise their price at any time? Sure. But right now, it's still $20. Right now, you got South of Midnight, you got Doom, you got Avowed, you got that Blue something game, the best, apparently, according to Paris, who's in the chat, shout out to him, could be his game of the year. It's a puzzler. I downloaded it. I haven't played it yet. That's in Game Pass day and date. You have so many freaking games in this service that are just dropping to the point where there are people in the community be like, you know what, Xbox, you just got to stop. I can't keep up with it. It's just freaking too many games right now. That's crazy, right? Fuzzy Belvedere, let's bring you in, and then we'll get to the few other super chats we got here, and then we'll get everyone out of here. I want to get your thoughts and your theories on the big interview from Variety with Phil Spencer. What are your thoughts, man?
Well, the big thing is I like the calculated approach that they have when it comes to the transmedia stuff, as far as whether it's TV series or movies and the gaming space, and how they push forward with that. Like they've learned a little bit with Halo. I'm hearing, I guess it's now picked up by Netflix. Would have been nice if it was picked up by Amazon, considering how well Fallout's doing, and it seems like Amazon is that streaming service willing to spend a little bit more for the long term. Netflix will spend some money as well, but it's almost like they have this built-in curse for 3 seasons with very few exceptions kind of deal. But all in all, I like how they're approaching it. They're making it where, and it doesn't have to be timed one for one, but they did learn that there is more of an urgency for a Fallout game, considering how well the TV series did. So they'll probably make better efforts moving forward when they do make a big series about a huge franchise, that either an upcoming game or updates to that existing game are ready within a reasonable amount of time should the show be successful. And I guess the other big thing, they're also making sure on new IP to not, jump with both feet in for TV series, kind of like, and I hate bringing it up, with Concord, where they had, I guess, that certain
The
level.
thing on Amazon, yeah. They had
so
the animated, yeah.
Yeah, so they got to be careful on how much time and resources are invested into that stuff, and finding, like you guys said earlier, the right partners for those ventures and things. But when it comes to Game Pass and their first party, I think the big thing now is, sure, Game Pass isn't for everyone. Not every game is for everyone as far as that's concerned as well, but they do offer a wide variety of things, not just in their own ecosystem, but on other platforms as well, making it so they have income coming from multiple sources. And I think Microsoft is best at doing something along those lines, both on the software and hardware and ecosystem setup. So that way, well, let's say having the games on multiple platforms, well, that is extra income that they can put towards the devs or put towards whatever other investments they want to. But it seems to be filtering more so to the studios for either sequels, updates, continued support and content, or just, the day-to-day operational stuff. And then with Game Pass, you have that recurring income that you can pretty much count on at least about 70% of it on a monthly basis. And then you'll probably have some swings up and down as far as, new subscribers or ones that cancel, but you have that like pretty much guaranteed income that you can always look forward to or kind of count on, provided that you're still putting content into that service, which you can then reinvest in getting more content. Like, I think the rumor was they spend between 1 and 2 billion to, put towards like third party developers getting into the service for day and date stuff, as well as other bigger games. Like, we've seen things like Grand Theft Auto 5 come back to the service. I think this is like its third time, and now it's also on PC. So, and it's the enhanced version, if I'm not mistaken. So there's a lot of, things that they're doing to make that service worthwhile, a great value for us as far as gamers, but it also becomes that reoccurring income for them. So they're going to make sure that's sustainable and strong. Much like, I know people like to debate on if it's sustainable, but I think it was 2017-ish when Game Pass first started, or it was like shortly after the Xbox One X, and it's still going strong. So I would say it's sustainable enough that they haven't, drastically hindered it like they did things like with what was that, Mixer and stuff like that. So
yeah,
I would have to believe it's got to be, successful or sustainable enough for them to continue it this far. And considering how many studios they own and how much, how many teams they have working on different projects, that's just going to continue to feed that monster. And I guess the big thing, although it seems like they're always under the microscope whenever they have layoffs, as opposed to other sources having layoffs, but they've been probably the better, considering how many teams they have and how many things they have in the oven. Sure, there are some that we probably never heard of that probably got canceled before, a code name was created for it, type of thing. But in the grand scheme of things, they're trying their best to keep this gaming division and gaming in general, going and not letting it get to the point where, this variable pricing gets out of hand, or, it becomes this elite hobby. Right now, having things like Game Pass, having it where, they have the Series S, and also being able to have their games on platforms or hardware that you may already own, whether it be your phone, your laptop, or a tablet, I think is the best way to kind of keep this hobby from becoming that elitist, type of hobby where, you can't spend $1,000 on a piece of hardware. Well, find another hobby, take up knitting or something like that. Like, we're far from that at this point, although the market could change tomorrow, but in the grand scheme of things, it looks like they're doing their best. So Phil's trying to keep Microsoft and Xbox on the pulse of gaming in general, and making sure that everything is kind of covered for them to maintain, as well as keep gamers happy, so they continue having customers that are willing to spend money with them. And that's all I got.
No, it's a great point of view. Again, great points from everybody on the panel. Great points back and forth with everybody in the chat. This has been a great episode. Again, I think that there is really a lot of positivity to take away from the Phil Spencer interview, even though most people in gaming, both community and some of the journalists that I really hold high in my conversation of people I trust, using a particular comment from Phil Spencer's talking about Game Pass not being needed or necessary or not for everyone, and then twisting that into a negative. I find that to be so incredibly disingenuous, and more for me is just disappointing. I think there was enough to write about in this article that you could have did what you're supposed to do, and that is provide news that is clear and concise, not stuff that is clickbait ratio or shenanigans, if you will. But look, we have 720 people watching live on a Friday morning, which is amazing. We are currently just under 160 subscribers away from 16K, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, under 160. And, well, if you're not already subscribed, you enjoyed the conversation. I saw a lot of new names here I've never seen before. Please consider subscribing. Mrs. Boom and I would be greatly appreciative of that. Of course, I want to catch up on Super Chats. We got a couple more here. We had one from Do You, K Now, the Broke Boy Insider. Thank you for the additional generosity. He says his Doom controller / console wrap is out for delivery. So is mine. Actually, the helmet is coming today, because that got delayed for some reason, and I'm getting both the controller and the wrap. That is freaking awesome. I'm going to do an unboxing probably for all three next week. I want to do it right, so I have to get the lighting and everything set up. I'm very excited for that. Doom is going to be a big game, and I'm all in. We also have here Windsor Guy 2022. So thank you, Windsor, for not only being here, but thank you for the generosity. He says, update, Switch 2 pre-orders happening April 24th. Accessories went up in price due to tariffs, and that in the future products could change price based on tariffs. Yeah, we talked about that to open the show. Thank you so much for the information, of course, the generosity. We have Tim the Sorcerer, who's been a channel member for 33 months. Tim, thank you so much for the outstanding support. Tim goes on to say, awesome show as always, panel, including Tyler and chat. Thank you so much for that. I want to wish everyone a great Easter weekend. Happy gaming wherever you play. Indeed, brother. Thank you for the kind words. And he's sitting right over here because he's going to do the outro momentarily. Thank you for the kind words. Eternal Shaddai drops a very generous $10 super chat. Shout out to you, kind sir. Thank you for the generosity. And of course, great to see you here in the chat. He says, the way I see it about the interview with Phil Spencer is that he is correct about being another option. But what about the decrease in price for the Series X to equal the success with PC and cloud? Yeah, I agree with you there. I think Hargeet made mention of this. I did not know this, but apparently Xbox Series X and S consoles are sold out everywhere except for used. I didn't know that. Hargeet talked about that yesterday when he was hanging out with me and Mav from Fun Speculation. And I guess that's a thing. Now, is that because they're slowing production due to tariffs? I don't know, but obviously they're going to have to ramp that back up. And I agree with you. I think that the price should be decreased, but we're also in an unusual realm in gaming. This is just not the same type of generation it was last generation or the generations before, and that's because of the pricing of the world. Ever since the pandemic in 2020, everything has been going up and has not been coming down. So I think that's the reason. I don't agree with it. I think there should be a price reduction. We'll see if they follow suit, because again, they have an opportunity to really steal the zeitgeist, especially with the pricing. When people find out that you can get these types of games, the Call of Duties, the Dooms, the Avowed, the South of Midnights, the Baltro, all these different types of games, both from single A and indies to AAA bombs, in a service like you can with Netflix and Hulu and Peacock and the rest of this the streaming services. I think the best positioned company is Xbox. And if they don't do any rake stepping and announce price increases for anything, at least for now, they could be on the winning side of this. We'll see. We will definitely see. But let's get to the outros, and then of course we'll have Tyler pop back in here and do his outro for the show itself. But Korkenstein, you have a couple of things to talk about, and I want you to first talk about the contest that you are doing. I think it's brilliant. I think it's fantastic. It's so community driven. Talk about that, and of course you're going to back end that with, of course, your own stuff to talk about, your own YouTube channel, your own social media places where they can reach out to you, but also something that Xbox Era is doing. Brother, take it away.
Yeah, so thank you to everybody. Boom, as always, for having me on. Silent, Fuzzy, always great takes. I love talking with y'all every Friday. To the community, you guys are awesome. I've seen some really great conversation, some really awesome people coming in, so thank you for that. Yeah, we actually, so I know I've been hyping it up. You guys have been seeing me on like Web Dave and other podcasts and on Booms for the last week, and you're just like, all right, shut up already about what might be coming. Tell us what's actually coming. And we just announced it yesterday. We got the whole clearance. We are actually giving away on the Xbox subreddit, our Xbox, a Claire Obscure Expedition 33 custom Xbox Series X. So that's actually happening. I know I've been, like I said, hyping it. I'll post the link in the chat to where you can find out more. The contest starts tomorrow. So we're having a whole week. We've been working with Kepler and Sandfall on this. They've been absolutely amazing. We're doing a whole week hype up for this. So we're going to have a lot of stuff coming out. We have the time of that tomorrow. The contest starts tomorrow, by the way. It's not starting today, but
okay, awesome.
Tomorrow. Please come to the subreddit, check it out, see how you guys can win a really awesome console. As for my channels, yeah, we have Game Pass Gumbo, our 1-year anniversary shows coming up. I think we're trying to get something for April 26th. We did have a guest we really wanted to come on, but he's unfortunately very busy, I think. So we may have to delay that a bit. But I'll know more. Hopefully by next week, we'll have a good plan of action coming in. Like I said, Xbox Talks is coming back since we're doing this giveaway. We'll probably announce the winner live on that show or podcast for launch day. That's when the contest ends. We'll be doing it when Claire Obscure launches. And then yeah, so I'm not affiliated with Xbox Era in any way, just so you guys know. I'm just
We're all friends though. We're all friends. Yeah.
We got to hang out with John last year in LA.
Yep.
They are doing a subathon to help them get to LA for all the stuff that's happening there for, I guess, E3 week. You know, it's not really E3 anymore, but yeah, go check them out on their YouTube and Twitch. They're doing giveaways, things like that. They're trying to reach their goals so they can make it to LA and Gamescom this year. They're not owned by a major outlet like, you know, IGN or these other ones. They're all crowdfunded. They're all sourced by the fans. I mean, they're fans themselves, so it's for the fans, by the fans kind of thing. So please go ahead, check them out. And support them today. They really do need it, as they are a independent, which is very rare, very, very rare independent media company. So help them out if you guys can. Thanks, Boom, for letting me do that.
Oh, and my pleasure, brother. Listen, we're super close with everybody at Xbox Era. John, I know personally, got a chance to hang out with him and his wife last year.
Yeah,
beautiful people. Got a chance to podcast numerous times with Special Nick, which we've got to get back on. Of course, Jesse Norris, one of the best reviewers in the business. Yeah, they're independent and they really do great work. If you want to support them in their efforts to get to LA to cover everything, go over there and support them. They're some of the best in the business. No shenanigans from them. They're straight shooters, and I love that. But Silent Cypher, let's sell the brand, brother. Let's talk about the Xbox International Podcast, both the English version as well as the international version of the show, where anyone that only speaks Spanish should definitely check it out. Great bunch of guys over there. Also, where could people find you on Blue Sky? What else you got going on, brother?
All right. Well, thanks for having me as always. Fuzzy Korkenstein, always good to be hanging out with you guys as well. Hope you guys have an awesome weekend scheduled. I'm hoping to go catch that Sinners movie starring Michael B.
That
Jordan.
looks really good, man. Kugler has done it again. Yes.
Yeah, man. As soon as I saw them both connected to this, I was like, all right, they've done Creed before. They did well with that. So let's give this a shot too. So you'll catch me maybe sharing some feedback and opinions on that here pretty soon. But besides that, obviously catch me on social media as Silent Cypher. I think I'm on, I don't know, Threads, Blue Sky, Instagram, a few other ones. Feel free to always add me on Xbox if you decide you want to play some Call of Duty or whatever else at the time. Besides that, catch me on Wednesday when my schedule allows on Xbox International Podcast at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Friday mornings, of course, hanging out here with these wonderful folks, the three bald-headed and the very bushy-bearded Korkenstein. He's the only one kicking us out of our trend, having so much hair. God bless you, sir. You have all the hair we lost.
I do actually have a haircut coming up today and beard trim. It's not
There you
all
go.
going,
That's what
but
I'm talking about.
I'm cleaning it up just a little. It's too unmanageable right now.
Yeah, excellent. Well,
Still
good stuff.
Impressive.
Yeah, indeed it is. Indeed it is.
And then the only other thing I was going to mention real quick is obviously catch me on Fright Nights with Ferocious Fee whenever we have episodes on there on Friday nights, 6 p.m. Eastern, if I remember correctly for the timing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, listen, Silent, thank you so much for being here, brother. We look forward to your return in a couple of weeks. Shout out to Atticus in the chat. Atticus, welcome back, brother. Nice to see you here. He says that he's going to be at WrestleMania on Sunday, bro. That's great. Here's a small piece of his historic news with me. My mom and dad took me and my brother to WrestleMania 1. We were in not the back row. We were in the 15th row. On the floor. How my parents pulled this off, I have no idea. Do you know I still have the programs with Hogan and Mr. T on the cover? I got 2 of them. I'm getting goosebumps talking about that. We went to WrestleMania 1. Wow. I mean, I haven't watched wrestling in a long time, but yeah, man, wrestling used to be our jam for sure. But Buzzy Belvedere, let's sell the brand, brother, because of course your channel is the best place for anything and everything in racing. And Forza Horizon 5 has a big update coming soon towards the end of the month when it releases onto PlayStation. Obviously, we're going to tune into your channel to see that. But if you want to talk about horror, ladies and gentlemen, whether it be Campy, whether it be AAA bombs, which I can't remember the last AAA horror bomb that there was, but I'm sure that there's one. You can tune into Fright Night at Ferocious Fees. And of course, that is 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is his wife. She has her own YouTube channel. We're trying to get them both to 1K, and you can help us by help them get there by subscribing. Sell the brands, brother. Where can people not only subscribe to your YouTube channels, more importantly, follow you guys on social media?
Oh, as always, love doing this on Friday mornings. Love talking about the industry and this hobby we all enjoy. Thanks everybody in the chat for checking us out. Greatly appreciate you guys being here. Don't forget, please hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. We greatly appreciate it. For those that want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming related or even horror related, just do a search on the internet for Fuzzy Belvedere and you'll be able to find me. I put the link to my YouTube on or in the chat. And then I also put the link to my wife's YouTube in the chat for Fright Night with Ferocious Fee, where we have Silent Cypher, myself, and Presto. That normally we're on at Fridays at 6 p.m. No show this weekend. Fee's getting her hair did for a upcoming role that she's going to be doing in a movie. I'll make more mention of that as time persists. But we normally talk about horror movies. Was going to try to do some gaming stuff. Couldn't put it together quite so fast, but be on the lookout for us next Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Greatly appreciate any and all support. And as always, be be safe, have fun this weekend, enjoy gaming, play some games. There's a ton of them. There's a ton more coming next week. We're getting bombarded with Game Pass, but it's in a good way. But definitely clear your backlog as best you can. And Tyler, take us away.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Fuzzy. Everyone have a safe and awesome Easter with your family. And I'm going to put my nephew on now.
All right. I want to close out the show with something that my Theo always says. Treat others how you want to be treated, and it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, and I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone, and we'll see you on the next episode of Breakfast with Boom.